With the start of college football on everyone's mind, we got to go into week 0, continuing talking Iowa State, Kansas State, the teams that start the college football season. But how important is it going to be for this running back crew between both the Cyclones and the Wildcats when you're talking about international weather? It rains a lot in Ireland. How important will that be, and who will come out on top in Dublin? It's a special Locked On College crossover of Locked On Kansas State and Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, hit that beat. It's Farmageddon Friday. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On College Crossover, Locked On Kansas State, and Locked On Cyclones. Christian Rao, Nick Maravitz here, breaking it down as we do every Friday, all the way up until week 0. We are getting close. It's getting closer and closer as we go all the time. I even tried to get these lights out of my face, Nick, and they are still there. So didn't work. But either way, we are here. Got a lot of things to talk about, lots of fun things to discuss on this episode. The running back room. How important will it be for Iowa State and Kansas State, not only in week 0, but the entire college football season? We'll talk about that in depth between each team. And then we'll end the show today talking about the College Football Power Index. How serious should we take these type of numbers? Let's be a little data nerds. Let's be nerds, if you will. Maybe have some conversations with that. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We are growing every single day, bringing content like no other on Iowa State and Kansas State, your team every day. Nick, obviously the Big 12 championship didn't go the way you wanted, but you made it there. You got there. You found a way to do it. And a lot of that was because of your offense. Running back room was impressive last year. Can it happen again? Can you have a good running back room in 2025? And if so, does that help you get right back to the Big 12 championship game in 2025/26? What's your thoughts on the running back room for Iowa State this year?
Absolutely. I mean, if anything, we're going to be better than last year just because Carson Hansen and Abu Sama got another year under their belt. Obviously, Carson Hansen kind of took like the main reins, if you will, at the running back position last year for the Cyclones. But I know every K-Stater out there has not forgotten the name Abu Sama based on his performance in Snowmageddon just a few years ago. And I talked about this yesterday, actually, kind of crazy coincidence. I was talking about how I think that, the expectations for Abu Sama after that game for last year, they were sky high. I mean, a lot of people were talking about how big of an impact Sama could make last year, and then ended up kind of falling short of those expectations. But that means, it doesn't mean that he had a bad year. He still had 124 carries for 587 yards, averaging almost 5 yards a carry. I mean, that's pretty good. You get 2 of those, boom, that's a first down right there, or at least very close to it. Added 2 touchdowns to that. So I don't want to sleep on Abu Sama. And then Carson Hansen really kind of became that dude. And I think he has an opportunity to even further that as far as, what does the room look like this year versus last year? Could that help Iowa State get to the game again, to the big Dr. Pepper Bowl, if you will, again? I think so. And it's a little too early to tell exactly what the offense is going to look like. Where's the ball fed through, right? Is it going to be the run or the pass? Obviously, the running back can do both, and I think that's kind of the beauty of this room. And they provide Rocco the opportunity, if the passing game isn't what they want without Higgins and Knoll, they can rely on these running backs, and I think they can shoulder that load.
Man, you talk about Sama and what he did against Kansas State a couple seasons ago. Just to refresh your memory, I've been on a real high with Kansas State's offseason, so it's probably not a bad idea to maybe humble the folks just for a second, because it was an absolute great outing. He had 16 carries for 276 yards, including a 77-yard touchdown. He had 3 touchdowns, by the way. It was just impressive. It was scary good. It was a 42-35 final, with Iowa State picking up their 7th win of the season in that one. And that hurt Kansas State. That was the year after them winning the Big 12 championship. They went to 8-4. The last 2 seasons, Kansas State's been 8-4, and that obviously wasn't a good feeling. But when you look at this entire running back room, Nick, the biggest issue to me is how will it all form together, right? You're talking about Rocco Beck. You're talking about Sama, you're talking about now you have to replace 2 1,000-yard receivers. We're going to talk wide receivers in the future, probably another Farmageddon Friday, but that's all is important on relying more on your running game. If you have to replace 2 top-end receivers who are now on the Houston Texans in the NFL, you're obviously going to have to replace some sort of offense production. How much more will they lean on the running back room in 2025?
I'm very curious to find out myself, to be completely honest, because we have those 2 transfers in Chase Sowell and Xavier Townsend, who could be just as good, if not better, than Higgins and Knoll. Like, we just don't know yet. They're kind of wild cards at this point. So to say that might seem ridiculous, but at the same time, maybe I'm underselling. I don't know for sure. And then we talk about the tight end room and just how many guys are coming back from injury and how much Burkle did last year. And Cooper Alexander, a redshirt, really could make some huge noise this year. I've kind of what I've heard reminds me of how people talk about Patrick Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith. It's the same, like, we got a guy, just trust, like, this guy is really good. That's how I feel about Cooper Alexander. So as far as passing goes, I don't know if we're going to rely more on the run game, as opposed to last year, just because I don't know exactly where it's going to sit. But even if we do rely more on the running backs, Matt Campbell came out and said one name in particular that could be a huge asset for the Cyclones in the passing game from the running back position. And River Peppers is his name. True freshman, 5'11", 190. Little small, I know, probably won't make the huge chip blocks that we're all looking for as far as pass protection, but he could definitely leak out and be that 3rd, 4th, 5th, depending on obviously the offensive set out there, option, and provide Rocco kind of that dump opportunity and get some yards after catch. I don't know how much they're going to rely on the run game, to answer your question. I just don't, because I don't know exactly what Mauser and what Paulie have up their sleeve. There's a lot of weapons on the field. We'll see how they're utilized, but I wouldn't be too shocked if it did kind of even out a little bit more than last year, right? Like, that's a general estimation of, we don't have the 2,000-yard wide receivers. It's probably going to be a little bit more run game.
Might be a softball question here, but obviously with Sama, how he did in Snowmageddon a few years ago, Ireland, you can never predict what's going to happen with the weather there. It rains all the time, especially in August. It's not ever really warm there, I think, ever, right? It's just gloomy. It's gloomy unless you see it in like a beautiful picture or on a Irish Celtic CD. I mean, that's basically it. The only time you can see it look gorgeous. Are you worried about the weather at all in the running game? Are you worried about ball security? You worried about any of that stuff for the running back room?
I'm not too worried. I think both these guys getting another year under their belt is good news. Career stats, Carson Hansen has not lost a fumble based on what I'm looking at right here. Abusama has not lost a fumble based on what I'm looking at right here. So there is kind of that history of that there. And I'm not too worried as far as, I think Iowa State is one of those programs that's like fundamentals, take care of the ball, 2 hands on it when you're going through the line, and you better not palm it running into the end zone, that type of vibe. I'm not too worried about it per se. I do wonder if with the run game, with the rain, you see more run game in a game like that. Obviously, that just makes sense as opposed to passing it and potential drops or letting the ball slip and interceptions and yada, yada, yada. So with more runs, more carries comes the bigger opportunity for fumbles, but I don't think it's not a worry of mine.
If you had to make any type of bold takes as of right now in the middle of June, heading into Farmageddon week 0 in Dublin in late August, would you say any of these running backs, if any, would have a star X factor put out? Who would it be?
Carson Hansen feels like the gimme answer, just because he's kind of the guy right now, and it probably will be a little bit of a run heavy game. But I'm not going to go that easy. I am going to take River Peppers here just because of how highly Matt Campbell spoke on him early. And then just with the whole summer and the whole fall to find their spot in this offense, or his spot in this offense, and their way of utilizing him is, from the coach's perspective, there's an opportunity where River Peppers, maybe he only has like 4 catches and like 3 runs or something, but he's got a total yardage of like 97 or just something ridiculous, just pops a few off, gets a couple touchdowns, like totally unexpected. That's definitely in the cards. So I'm going to take Peppers here, even though Hansen does seem like the easy answer.
And I mean, what a great name too, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
that's a solid all-name team, possibly. River Peppers.
River Peppers, touchdown Cyclone. Like it just rolls off the tongue.
I can't disagree one bit whatsoever. Let's flip roles right after this break, and I'll tell you why Kansas State's running back room could be the prime reason they beat Iowa State in Dublin right after this here on this Locked On College crossover of Locked On Kansas State and Locked On Cyclones. But first, Nick, we got to talk about today's sponsor, and that is FanDuel. The NBA Finals is in full swing. We just saw game one last night. Every night is delivering highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't miss moments, whether it's in-game winning shots or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live player props, performances, trends, same-game parlays. Look, I was talking to you last week, and I said it was really weird to do same-game parlays with the Knicks and Pacers. I don't feel that bad about it now. And I know you're an Iowa State guy. I know we're going to talk about Halliburton here, but how can you not put SGA in a same-game parlay right now? It just seems like easy money.
As the MVP, it does seem to make sense, but I'm always going to take Hallie.
Yeah, okay, I understand. And if you are going to play this, and if you haven't done it already, if you're new to FanDuel, today is a perfect time to check out FanDuel.com. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, because if that first $5 bet wins, Nick, can you believe it? You'll get $200 in bonus bets just for playing and betting $5 and getting that win. I mean, absolutely, just an absolute stud win here by FanDuel. Enjoy the NBA Finals. Enjoy it with FanDuel. Make every moment count with FanDuel, the official betting partner of the NBA.
All right, Iowa State running back's going to be the reason that Iowa State comes away with the win in Farmageddon. Potentially, maybe not. Who knows? Could be the passing game. We don't know for sure, but seems like, Christian, you're pretty high up on the running backs for Kansas State. You're here with the Locked On College crossover. Wow. Say that five times fast, between the Locked On Kansas State and Locked On Cyclones here. Christian, what can we expect from Kansas State and out of the running back position here? Obviously, Iowa State, we've kind of got it figured out, but DJ Giddens now in the NFL, what's it looking like for Kansas State here?
It's going to be different, but I think it's going to be super exciting. Kansas State fans know what workhorse running backs look like, right? As you just mentioned, they watched DJ Giddens rack up 1,300 rushing yards in 2024, including back-to-back 180-yard games against Colorado, Oklahoma State. Heading into 2025, though, this running back room doesn't have just one DJ Giddens. You know where I'm going with this? But in the aggregate, a little Moneyball reference there, they might just have three, Nick. Dylan Edwards, Joe Jackson, and Antonio Martin. Remember that name? I think could be an X factor in this one. They give Kansas State a lethal trio. I mean, speed, power, flexibility. When you're talking about a three-headed monster out of the backfield, I think Kansas State could have this. I truly do. And in this week 0 matchup against Dublin, you're talking about a duo, a running back group that has hardly any game film, with the exception of the Rate Bowl game when you talk about Jackson and Edwards. They're bringing in technically a brand new offensive coordinator in Matt Wells, who's going to hold it by himself. He has aggressive tendencies. This group could absolutely, in my opinion, break Iowa State's defense before the season even begins, like the true Big 12 season. I'm going out. We're getting bold now. Okay. We had a couple episodes to say, hey, how you doing? How's the fam? It's time to get into it, right? Kansas State might not have the bell cow in the backfield this year. They might not. Okay. They might not have DJ Giddens, but they are going to have, and they very well might have, the fastest and most explosive running back room in the entire Big 12. Hear me out. And in week 0, that could be the difference in Dublin. And I'm starting right with Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards, to me, I call him a game wrecker or a home run hitter, whatever one you want to call him. Former 4-star transfer, was with Colorado for a first year with Coach Prime. Everybody saw him on a national stage as a freshman, but now he's with Kansas State, back in his home state for the second full season. He's now fully comfortable in this system. In this offseason in spring, he clocked in at 23 miles an hour. Oh, yeah, fast guy. And another player who also did that, Avery Johnson, the quarterback for Kansas State. They got speed on this team, Nick. He could be used anywhere. He's not just a running back as well. I think he's you want to talk about three players. He's a triple threat. You can put him anywhere. Slot, motion, backfield, screens. I mean, he's a full playbook weapon. And he's explosive in space, elite misdirection. Here's my bold take for Dylan Edwards. He's the Kansas State's version of Devin Achane. Okay.
Ooh,
how about that? Former Texas A&M running back, current Miami Dolphin, all gas, no brakes, home run threat on every touch. That's where I'm going with that one. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think about that? All right, I'll let you. Yeah,
I mean,
I'll give myself a breath.
That's a big comparison right there. Holy cow. And you mentioned Avery Johnson. We'll kind of get onto that here in a second, but you mentioned the speed in general. My first thought goes to Iowa State's linebacking core. A lot of guys returning from injury this year. I mean, the run game for Iowa State last year wasn't very good. Like, let's just call it how it was. It could have definitely been better, and I think that was showcased explicitly in the Big 12 championship when Cam Scatteraboo, his everything, it's just burned in my brain. I can't forget it. Do you think that could be something that could hinder the Kansas State running backs in this upcoming game? Obviously, now with the linebacking core back kind of in full swing here, it's not going to be the same unit it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you absolutely have to say that. Yeah, you're trying to humble me on this episode, and I appreciate the attempts. Look, the linebacking core, if it's stronger than what it was last year, it absolutely could find a way to stop Kansas State's running game. And I think that would just be an unfair thing to say. No, there's no chance in hell, Nick, that's not happening. I think the linebacking core in Iowa State has the opportunity to do it. I could even raise you the same thing with Kansas State. We didn't mention it in the first segment, but I really like Kansas State's linebacking core, especially the portal. We're going to get to the linebackers in the future. We got plenty of Farmageddon Fridays to talk about, but that's a nice little tease because I think you're right. I think that is something that you're not talking about when you're thinking about speed and how you can stop it. But speed's not the only thing this running back room has, although I do think it is going to be the primary thing that you see from Kansas State this year. They're going to highlight the speed when it comes to Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards, even Jace Brown on the outside at wide receiver, which we'll get to next week, the wide receivers. You know, I think you also have underrated weapons, and you have, in my opinion, what could be seen as the missing piece. Might not be when it comes to targets or carries, but just having that extra piece. Let me talk about the final two running backs here to wrap up this segment. Joe Jackson, in my opinion, is an underrated weapon. He's bulked up to about 212, 215 pounds, but he's got speed, he's got versatility, but he's got moves like a wide receiver. He played wide receiver in high school. Elite hands out of the backfield. To me, you talk about having those motions, those jets of Dylan Edwards. You can play those screens with Joe Jackson too. You don't lose anything. If anything, you gain with Joe Jackson because you can play Dylan Edwards in so many other spots. Here's my bold line, my bold take for Joe Jackson. Here, I'm full of bold stuff today. He's built like a power back, moves like a slot receiver, and Kansas State offense will use both of them. Change of pace, man. Every down mismatch if Joe Jackson is on the field. But I think to me it gets better as you keep going. I don't have crazy good names like River Peppers, okay? I don't have that. But Antonio Martin might be the missing piece. And he's a late transfer portal addition, came in the spring, but he's big-bodied. He's a physical downhill back. I mean, one report called him literally the thick one. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man. Easily the most physical back on the roster, but he offers what Dylan Edwards and Joe Jackson can't. It's short yardage punishment, perfect for the goal line. You're talking about adding size to the wide receiver room already. With a tight end room, you led the country in red zone touchdowns. Now you add a goal line threat like Antonio Martin, your ideal red zone / short yardage weapon. I mean, he could be the secret weapon in Dublin. When you're talking about the weather issues and things like that, he might be the key to closing out Iowa State. So there you have it. I really love this running back room of Kansas State this year.
I think that's pretty clear. Yeah, you got kind of the triple threat there, if you will. You can pass, shoot, or dribble, and who knows exactly what's going to be utilized. It sounds like you kind of have everything you could possibly need in the running back position. But I ask you this, I'll flip the coin on its head here. If the weather is perfect in Dublin, you asked me if it's going to be rainy. If it's perfect, do you think Kansas State will rely more on the run game or the pass game? Because we've talked so highly of Avery Johnson and what he's capable of. But if this running back room is what you make it out to be in its perfect weather, why not run the rock?
If it's a perfect way that Kansas State starts this game, let's assume that everything goes right for Kansas State early based on this question that you just gave me. Knowing what I know about Matt Wells, what I've seen from him in the past, what he's done with Utah State, with Jordan Love as his quarterback in the past, what he's done at the Rate Bowl with against Rutgers just this last season and that amazing comeback win for Kansas State. If everything works out perfect, they're going to want to start with the run fast because that's going to open up the play action. It's going to be able to get the deep threats for Avery Johnson. I think they're going to want to get his dual threatness, if you will, for lack of better words. Is that a word? I don't know. Call Webster. Yeah. And yeah, good. And I think that's where they're going to go. I think running is the game is where it's at. And if you talk about what they want to do early, let's end this segment with one more bold take. I'm not scared.
Let's do it.
Don't be surprised if Dylan Edwards leads the team in touchdowns this season. Nick leads the team in touchdowns this season. And if he breaks one for more than 50 yards in Dublin and makes national headlines before you even sit down for breakfast.
That's bold. We are dishing out the bold takes here. Apparently for breakfast. We'll eat those right after this game is over, and the Cyclones ran away with it. That's exactly what we're looking at here. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to break down some interesting analytics. We're going to go full nerd mode here in this third segment. Coming back right after this.
Man, these are so much fun. I love having these conversations with you on this Locked On College Crossover, Farmageddon Fridays. We're going to bring it to you every Friday. Iowa State, Kansas State, one of the best rivalries in college football, if not the best. I mean, I know I have a little bias there, but I truly love this rivalry. It is definitely by far the best rivalry for Kansas State. And that is, and take that as shade all you want, the Jayhawks, but that is absolutely true. That is not a rivalry on this side. Look, ESPN came out with their Football Power Index. They're updated it for the 2025 season. And if you don't know what the Football Power Index is, let me explain it real quick. It's called the FPI. It's a measure of team strength that is meant to be the best predictor of a team's performance going forward for the rest of the season. I should have put it in quotes. Best predictor. FPI represents how many points above or below average a team is. Projected results are based on 20,000 simulations of the rest of the season using FPI results of the dates, remaining schedules. It updates year after every week. So this isn't something that will just be static. But of course, no games have been played yet because you and I are still talking about the game that is coming up, and we are the first game on the schedule. So I don't know why they stop at 20,000 simulations. I don't know why they don't do 1 million. I don't know why it would. I don't know. I really don't. But regardless of the fact that that's what this is. So take it as a grain of salt, but it's interesting. Looking at some of these statistics, I mean, go ahead and toot my own horn here. Kansas State is sitting at the top of the ESPN FPI for the Big 12, 21st in rankings. They are projected to win more wins than any other team in the Big 12, and that is at 8.6. They're projected to win 8.6 wins. I'm guessing the 0.6 is maybe Army, maybe South Dakota. I'm not sure. Just kidding. Probably Arizona. Actually, this year. But on the flip side, I think they got this one really wrong. Not at the Kansas State portion, but for you. For Iowa State. You guys are so low. They have you at a projected win total of 6.7 wins this season, and you are below teams like UCF. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have you the 9th best team in the Big 12. So just off that alone, before we dig in any more analytics, what 9th in the Big 12, Nick?
We've talked a lot about, could these rankings be skewed by Higgins and Noel leaving? This is just straight up disrespect. What? That's a crazy number. Are you kidding me? That is, maybe second, maybe third, maybe fourth would make sense. I wouldn't be too upset if we were maybe in the top 5 or whatever, just depending on who is in front of us. Or that's crazy low. I cannot come up with a single good reason for that low of a ranking. All I've said all season is take the over on wins from our friends over at FanDuel. This team is going to be very much poised for another championship appearance. They have all the weapons. I don't think they obviously lost a lot of production from Higgins and Noel, but we've got a lot of opportunity to make that back up. And our defense seems to potentially at least be in the same shoes, if not better than last year. I cannot believe that. I'm looking at some of these teams that are ahead of them. I'm like, is Tulane ahead of Iowa? Am I reading that correctly? Tulane, Boise State, I guess. UN. What are we? That's just literally just disrespect. I don't know how else to say it. There's no argument. That's like saying that Kansas State isn't going to win a single game. That's just me disrespecting you. There's no logic in that.
Yeah, there's some other statistics and percentages here, like percentages to make the playoffs or win your conference. And I could see why maybe some of those G5s might be higher to make the playoffs because they might be considered the top G5 and you got to give a G5, percentage to somebody else or predicting. So I could see that, but they also came out with an article to reintroduce the FPI to everybody. And one of the statistics here was talking about the biggest risers and fallers in the FPI entering 2025. Iowa State's on this list as one of the biggest fallers entering the new year. And it looks like if I'm doing, if I'm scrolling this and taking a look at it, to the best of my ability, it looks like they're the second biggest faller in the Big 12. Only Colorado, who had a 25 ranked down difference, who's now 48th on the list. They dropped 25 spots, is higher than you. Iowa State is looked at to be 45th, just a couple ranks above Colorado, and they dropped 19 spots from 2024, from the end of the 2024 season. 19 spots. So they're saying that the difference in losing your wide receivers, maybe they're saying there's some luck with Rocco Beck in the Pop-Tart Bowl and making it to the Dr. Pepper Bowl. Maybe they said you didn't taste all 23 flavors. I don't know. But what I'm saying, Nick, is that that's pretty disrespectful. Even as a Kansas State podcaster, somebody who obviously is taking one side of this rivalry different than listen, I think that's just utter disrespect.
We had 5 guys get drafted. Like it's not like nobody left the team. It's not like it was just Higgins and Knoll. Like I understand that. I don't even need to dive into that because that's just, I don't even know what to say. Like, are we being for real? That's all I have to ask. That's such a crazy, I can't even argue with that. Why is Kansas State so high? I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Can we switch the topic here?
Yeah, Kansas State, I mean, them being so high, I mean, look, we talked about it in the past. They've had some of the best odds to win the Big 12 conference. And now for context here, there is 3 teams projected to win 8 wins this year. It's Kansas State, Arizona State, and BYU. So they obviously haven't, they don't, in these projections, they don't put allegations in these projections. So something to keep in mind there. Kansas comes in at 4, TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, UCF, then Iowa State. The UCF one is insane to me. There's no way.
It just occurred to me. They're accounting for the parity of the Big 12. That's what it is. They know that Iowa State was at the top last year. There's no way they're going to do it again. That's what the Big 12 is. That's why UCF and Kansas State explicitly are at the top. That's what it is. It's all about the parity.
It's a parody on parody. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Because look, that's the only reason you can tell me that UCF belongs in the top half here, is saying that we're just expecting them to be projected to be ranked towards the bottom in the media poll once the media days come up next month. And as we know, if you rank towards the bottom in the media polls, you're probably going to finish in the top half of the actual standings. At least that's how it's been. But there's no way that UCF should be above Iowa State here. And a lot of people love what Kansas is doing. I'm not sold on them yet. Call that a bias all you want. I'm just not sold on them at the moment. We're going to have a show on my channel. I'm going to have a show that comes out with the 5 most important games of the season. I think you already did that show for your channel. Kansas not going to be on my list. There's a little teaser for you. They won't be. And I don't see them being at 4th in the Big 12. Let's wrap this up here with maybe potentially some better news.
I hope so.
To win the conference, you got a 3% chance, 3.7% chance this year to win the conference. So I don't know if you think that's a good thing or not, but here's an even cooler thing. You have a 3.7% chance to win the conference, but a 4.4% chance to make the playoffs. Ooh. So there's a small percentage in there that thinks Iowa State can be an at-large team this season. What about that?
All I'm hearing is that they don't think we can win the big one. It just keeps coming, man. The disrespect is relentless. It's fair, I guess, that we have it. Like, when was the last time? I think Iowa State won a conference championship, but it was like before the Civil War. So, like, is that really applicable? I don't know. I get it, but also, like, what are we more of a chance to be an at-large bid from the Big 12? Just consider that. That's what. It's not the SEC. No, this is from the Big 12, where it's really a possibility that only one team gets in, and it's the conference champion, because you got to be ranked in the top 12 now, correct? It's based on the straight seeding now.
And yeah, straight seeding. Yep. Yeah. So you got to win your conference, and then they've got the straight seeding moving forward. Yeah. I mean, let's just wrap this one up here. Interesting thing here, and that's the SEC. 11 SEC teams are above the Big 12. Shocker. 11. Yeah, shocker, right? From ESPN. Interesting stuff. Nick, where can everyone find you on Locked On Cyclones?
Locked On Cyclones, your team every day, breaking down the Cardinal and Gold, and at Nick_Marv on Twitter. Christian, where can they find you putting out your amazing stuff every single day?
Well, you want more of those bold takes, Nick? I'll tell you exactly where. Locked On Kansas State, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Trying to get those 1,000 subscribers by Independence Day, so hopefully
Very
you
close.
can make that happen. We're close. Last time I checked, we're at 930, so we're almost there. And of course, Twitter X at Locked On K State. If you want to go ahead and dig through all that crazy drama that's been going on that social media network as of lately. Please like the video. Please subscribe. This has been a Locked On College crossover of Locked On Kansas State and Locked On Cyclones.